Good morning, YouTube. How are we? Inside this box here, I have a camera which I have been very excited to try for a very long time, so let's get it unboxed. Oh, it needs scissors. Alright, well that ruins the time-lapse a bit. And here we go. This is the Fujifilm GFX100RF. And as of time of recording, I have it for about 3 days, so let's get out there and use it. See, I think there are already more than enough videos out there that talk about the specs of this camera and read out the feature list off the official website, blah 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 blah. If you want to know that, you can Google it, or you can go and watch another one of the 34 videos that you've probably already watched, because I'm kind of covering this one a little bit late. But what I would like to do with the camera is actually put it through its paces in some real-world use cases. So I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I've settled on two things. You see, on one hand, it is a medium format camera, so to me that says that you want to take it on hikes and go and capture some landscapes and the beauty of nature. On the other hand, it is a compact camera from Fujifilm with a fixed lens on it, so that to me says street photography. So in this video, and with a little bit of time we've got with this camera, I'm going to try and do both of those things, and I'll report back. But before we do that, I do have a bit of a tradition to go over. See, I think that the first photo you take when you're using any camera should be of one of your pets. So let's go and find a cat.
Oh, hey Batman, look, we got a new camera. You gonna be my model? Can you do a nice pose for me? Oh, good pose, thank you.
First thing I want to do with it is take it on a little walk down to the beach. Partially just to kind of warm up with it a little bit, get a feel with where all the dials are and where all the buttons are and everything like that. And just to kind of see how it feels in the hand. The thing I am enjoying, which I expected to enjoy, this isn't a surprise, is the combination of the two things which a lot of people are calling the gimmick dials. You know, there's the one that does the focal length, the little switch on the front, and then there's the one on the back that does the aspect ratio. And I especially like the way that it overlays frame lines into the viewfinder. It lets you kind of really focus on what's in the frame and what's out the frame. If you're someone like me that enjoys making quite minimal compositions and having a couple of elements in frames, especially on situations like this, like golden hour on the beach, you know, it's really nice to kind of have those frame lines built into the camera in such a tactile way. And if you want to change your focal length, it's a really simple flick of the switch. And if you want to change your aspect ratio, that one's a little bit more involved. You kind of have to reach around the back and then look at the top of the camera to see which one you've selected, but it's fine. And you know, it's good that that dial isn't easy to turn as well, so you know, that's also nice. Anyway, like I said, it's golden hour on the beach, so I'm gonna go and enjoy myself and make some photos. Roll the montage. My initial impressions here are super positive. The color rendition is great. It feels exactly like the Fujifilm cameras that I'm used to, just that everything's got that little bit more definition, a little bit more dynamic range, and just a little bit more, I mean, I hate to use the term, but pop. And, you know, using that dial to change the aspect ratio on the fly or punch in with the digital teleconverter, it really is super great. It's in that weird spot where 100 megapixels is way more than you need, so that means it's actually completely fine to throw a lot of them away and just be left with a smaller file that is still much more resolution than you actually need. Day 2 of the field test. We are in Brighton and we're going to take the camera around for some street photography. It's a super gloomy day, so I am probably going to do a lot of this in black and white. I've got a black and white preset and I've got a Kodachrome preset, and we're going to go between the two. As usual with a lot of my stuff, this is going to be JPEG only, straight out of camera, so I'm going to be playing around a lot with the aspect ratio dial, playing around a lot with the teleconverter, and we'll see what we can come up with. Route, I don't really have a route in mind. I'm going to slowly meander my way down towards the seaside and hope that it doesn't rain too much, because it's a really windy day and it's not going to have that much quality of light, so hopefully we can find interest in other places instead. Let's see what we get up to. Catch you in a bit. It's almost perfect accidentally without having to wait, although I kind of want to be more central. If I can get some more symmetry, that would be nice. Not bad. That's okay. Again, I'm really enjoying the aspect ratio dial hertz, 65 by 24, which is X-pan ratio for those of you in the know. If you know what that is, then you really know what that is. Let's see if we can use this. There we are. I would love to use that as kind of a framing point and then get two people kind of equal on both sides. That might not happen. That might be a pipe dream, but I think that could look very, very nice. We'll give it a minute. We'll see if it happens. It's quite nice. We've got a very reflective and a glass window here, and obviously getting people coming past in bright clothes is cool. I think I want to get this one in black and white as well, just of the tail. It's fine. Yeah, it's nice. So this is nice because of the purple, and it frames up into the frame lines in the crop, in the 80 crop, perfectly. So if someone comes in the door, that could be really nice. That's kind of nice as a starting point. That's not bad. Quite like that one. This is not the road I want to be going down. I am a sucker for a good hat, though. I will go out of my way to photograph someone with a cool hat. Talking of hats, the cap I'm wearing today is very much like, if I'm using something that's more like SLR style, like I normally use an X-T5 or an X-T30, and those are more like SLR style cameras. They have the viewfinder in the middle, which means they've got a little bit of a bump, and every time I wear this hat and I'm using that SLR style camera, the viewfinder bump kind of pushes up the hat a little bit, and it's very annoying. And something I've immediately noticed is that this, having a flat top, doesn't push up the hat. And I know that that should not be a big deal, but that really is actually making it win a lot of points. And I know that that really doesn't make sense as a way of evaluating a camera. But in actuality, it is very, very cool. Like, that actually is a selling point for me, as much as realistically it shouldn't be. See if we can do something cool with these plants, maybe. I don't know, I feel like it'd be nice in better light, but the light's just kind of not there. I wonder if this wants to be a nice kind of wide frame. Use these as a the bike. There we go. Kind of get a bit closer actually. We can kind of use these as a middle point and then have something interesting on each side. Let's yeah, that works. That's interesting. I think something I've been enjoying more than I expected to was having the ability to put the dial in 3/4 like I did there, which you'd think, you know, you don't really need to do that because the camera's 4:3 by default. Surely you could just turn it sideways, but I think the fact that you don't have to do that is actually quite nice. And obviously, yes, you're losing resolution when you could just turn it sideways, and that, you know, just seems so silly, but you know, at the same time, turning a rangefinder style camera sideways has always been a bit awkward. Like, it's not something you want to do, because no matter which way you put it, because of the offset viewfinder, it's always awkward in some way if you're still trying to use the viewfinder and turn it sideways at the same time, or the strap lug gets in the way, or something else. Tea shop over there, best tea shop in the world, shout out. What I'd love here is to get a bird in frame. It seems very unlikely because there wants to be something in that top corner. Yeah, the birds are just missing my frame line there, which is very annoying. But yeah, if we had something in that top corner to fill in this composition, that would be a really cool kind of classic of, I mean, these are some famous legs. One day people will say that about me, and they won't, but if they did, it'd be funny. They'd be wrong. No birds. Okay. There was a couple of stray pigeons like just before I framed that up, but they still weren't in the right place. But I had hope that the pigeon might come along again. Something I like to do as kind of a rule of thumb of catching moments like that is that if a lot of the time if something happens once, then it'll happen twice. But if it doesn't happen twice within the first like 30 seconds that you're waiting for it to happen again, then that means it'll never happen again. Obviously, not never, but I think it reaches a point where it's not worth waiting for if it's not going to happen within the first 30 seconds. As previously mentioned, absolute sucker for a good hat and a good outfit. I think a lot of that is because I'm jealous. I wish that I could pull off a hat like that. And I really can't. Mostly because they don't fit me. 9 out of 10 times I'll try on a hat, it's either way too small or way too big and there's no size in the middle. You know, even one of those one size fits all hats. It's no, it doesn't. Not when your head's this big, it's not. See, that was a quick snap photo. Not sure if it was any good. I think I'd have preferred it if I could have slowed down a bit there, but good enough. Although, we do take photos of trans pride flags because trans lives matter, and if you think they don't, stop watching this channel immediately. Thank you very much. At this point in the day, the weather just unfortunately got too bad to keep recording with the head-mounted action cam, because it genuinely felt like my hat was going to blow away a couple of times, so we're doing the rest of this with a montage. Despite the challenging conditions today, I will still say that street photography with this camera is a lot of fun. And I did get one shot that I'm super proud of, which is this one here of the woman looking into the fog through the dirty glass. That one I'm super happy with, and I think in a day of street photography, if you get one photo that you really love, then sometimes that's actually enough, and that kind of makes the entire day feel a lot better. I did mix colour and black and white here, and I do really like the way that the sensor handles black and white. It's got a very nice rendition to it, and it's a nice amount of grain. Street photography is one thing, but this is still a medium format camera, which means that it also has to perform when you're taking it out on hikes and capturing some landscapes. And this place here is Beachy Head with a very famous lighthouse, which you can see behind me. And I wanted to bring this camera here very specifically because a few years ago I made a fantastic photo here in some lovely glowing morning light, which I still have hanging on my wall today, and it's one of the favorite photos I've ever made. Now, I made that photo with 26 megapixels, so let's go and see what I can do with 100. Unfortunately, this is one of the places where the camera being fixed lens kind of lets it down a little bit. It's really great for the wide shots, but if you want to crop in, then even with the amazing cropping ability, you still can't quite get as close as an actual telephoto. My partner brought her camera with an actual huge telephoto lens, and looking at these two photos side by side, you can really see what I mean. That's as close as you can get on the GFX, and it's still just not quite there. That said, the rest of the hike was very fun. I was very happy with the images that I got, and we even met some cows, which is always great. Cows are a highlight, and they should be treasured forever. Right then, few days later, few more adventures in the bag. How do I feel about this camera? Well, the truth is that it's complicated, because a lot of this camera feels like it's got so many inherent compromises to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad experience. It might not just be what everyone is looking for. For a start, this is a fixed lens camera. That should have been obvious by now. But the point of having a fixed lens camera is normally to get something that is quite small. And by regular fixed lens camera standards, this one is actually pretty gigantic. I'll show you what I mean by putting it next to a photo of my X-T5 with a very similar lens, and then for fairness I've left the lens hoods on in both of these situations so that we're really comparing apples to apples as much as we possibly can. And it's pretty clear from that photo that really they're the same size class of camera. There's not that much difference in any dimension, and the type of bag that you would need to put either one of these cameras in is going to be about the same amount of space. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like the X-T5 is huge, but the X-T5 is an interchangeable lens camera. This is meant to be so much smaller. This is meant to be competing with things like the X100 series or the Ricoh GR. It's like you're taking all the drawbacks of a fixed lens camera, but without getting any of the benefits that you're supposed to get for making that trade-off. The thing I always like to ask myself is, who is this camera for? Because I believe that every camera, or every piece of tech in general, has a person or a subset of users where that camera or that piece of tech is the absolute correct choice for them. But with this one, I think the people who it's perfect for are such a small group of people that it almost feels like Fujifilm made this camera just to prove that they could. Because for this to be the right choice for you, you'd have to have 5,000 plus to spend on a camera, you'd have to really want medium format, and you'd have to be okay with the fact that it's a fixed lens camera that's not actually that much smaller than a lot of full-frame things. The leaf shutter is nice, the dials and switches are nice, it feels great in the hand, it is a really, really great camera, but I just can't think of anyone who it's actually the best choice for, and that makes me really sad. I think really my dream for this camera is that some of the cool features trickle down to the rest of the Fujifilm lineup, or maybe that a version 2 can make the overall package a little bit smaller without compromising on any of the things that make it so fun. Either way, thank you all so much for watching, I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you like this, I've got a few more exciting ones coming down the pipeline soon, but until then, peace out and have a great day.